Committee meeting to order. Roll call, Melissa.
Steve Brenner.
Here.
John Woodward.
Here.
Fred Mogle.
Here.
Jeff Marmer. Here. Bill Jennings.
Here.
Yeah.
Public comments?
Yeah, a couple of things. Regarding the discussion with the DOT, with the circle and how much we want to do about it, I understand the reasons. However, I think we have to look a little bit at also what was said about the circle, the Centennial Circle. Once you have these roundabouts, you have the opportunity to have green space inside. We don't have wires and lights hanging, street lights hanging and everything. It pretty much looks like driving through a park when you have them done right. Just go to Britain and you'll see how that works. And I think we have to, say again?
He said Britain.
No, I'm getting
England.
in a couple weeks.
Yeah, well, go there. I mean,
I'll be sure.
if you manage to drive on the wrong side, then, I tried it. So, but seriously, I think it's an opportunity to make that area more green. It's really dry right now, and considering us, I understand that adds, maybe it doesn't add that much to our budget to maintain the traffic circles and have some greenery over there. I think it adds, and overall, that area of Wyomissing will look better, or has a chance to look better. I think we should consider that. That's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Okay. Hearing none, we'll move on. Zoning and code report.
The report's pretty self-explanatory unless anyone has specific questions. The one thing I would very much like to touch on is the appeal hearing for the stormwater management, property maintenance code, and UCC violations for 1725. And now it's forgetting, is it Delaware or Dauphin Avenue? Have you
I
had?
have not heard from him. I did send him an email this morning. What we're waiting for is an actual stamp plan for that wall. The last I had talked to him, he was all but there. Because once he has that plan, we can at least eliminate the UCC non-compliance, which would also open up
Stormwater.
the other two, that they can at least be evaluated, but then we know what we're dealing with.
Yeah.
I can try to reach out. He works weird shifts at Cartech, so he's not always available to get on the phone, but I can try to call him as well.
I mean, the concern is we need to advertise next week for R2.
So I'll emphasize that I need to hear something by the end of the week.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Is the delay hurting his neighbors?
I mean, there's a downstream neighbor whose basement was, there is one downstream neighbor, but we delayed out of,
we delayed, but we're not re-delayed, right?
Correct.
Okay.
I mean, we delayed once, which is what we would do for anybody to give them time to find an engineer that is gonna look at their drawings and say yay or nay.
Right, but are you talking about delaying again?
No,
And why?
because the point is, if he gets the documents into us by the end of this week, we have what we need for the next steps, that the UCC appeal hearing would go away. And Jim's office and Kraft's office would be able to determine for the property maintenance code and the stormwater management violation notices, whether what was built is in compliance or not.
And if it's determined it's not, then the wall comes down.
Possible. That'll be up to the person who stamps the drawings.
Great deal.
They're either going to sign off, they're gonna establish a design. So there was two routes. You either had an engineer stamp off on what was installed and saying that it is compliant as installed, which means he's basically just had to go out there and do inspections on it, which no one's gonna do. or he's stamping off a design, and that's gonna come up to us. And they're gonna have to expose to prove that they installed it per the plan.
And none of
That's
the,
what's
none of
gonna
the,
happen.
none of the, nothing that can be rectify the situation is digging up the neighbor's yard that's effective now, is it? Can it
No,
be?
I don't think it's gonna require that. I think there's gonna, I mean, the stormwater. Are you familiar with the actual project, Jim?
Not really.
So they put up the retaining wall and they put.
I mean, I know that, I don't know what
They,
they're
they
doing
ran a
as far as
pipe
stormwater.
and directed the stormwater.
Yeah.
I think they're just gonna have to do some type of remediation with that stormwater. Either a pit or something directed, you know, that we're not getting direct runoff. I don't think that that's gonna necessarily be,
I mean, people
One
had
that-
water in their house because of it.
Yeah.
they did. And of course, it was that, you know, it wasn't a normal.
It was a
rain.
100-year
It was
storm,
a 100-year
but still.
storm. But I'm just saying, of course, it was the worst conditions. I think the workaround will not affect them that much, but it has to be addressed.
I thought he had
The workaround's
drawings,
not
that, if I read between the lines, excuse me, that he didn't want to stamp.
That's what it sounds
It's hard to
That's
spell
what I read.
drawings
I
I
after
don't
the
I-
fact.
think, most
I don't-
engineers are not gonna stamp something they did not originally design and or were part of in the field. I mean, that's like,
Right.
hey, Jim, I just built this wall in my backyard, will you stamp the plans after the fact and you have
No.
no idea how I built it?
No.
Get in
I
the
don't
back.
have to think about that real
No.
long.
I don't think the homeowner is going about it the right way. I mean, I can't take him by the hand and tell him how to fix his problem.
Right.
Ultimately, his contractor did work without a permit. I would have held them a little bit more responsible, and he's not really doing that.
4 years of lawsuit.
They're using an engineer that supposedly that contractor works with. So the design that is on paper is the engineer that the contractor works with. And he's saying, this is the way it should have been built. This contractor is saying, yeah, that's the way we built it, but there has to be some coordination there and some proof.
So the engineer has to see it's
So
as
either
built, right?
an engineer has to go out and verify it and stamp it and say it's as it's designed, as it's built, I say it's meets code, it's adequate. He's not gonna do that, but I had to say, that was one option. The other option is, here's the design, this is the way it should have been built. Then it comes back to us, we can issue a permit, but now we have to do our inspections to verify that it was built that way.
Which means we
That's
That's
gonna
not
involve,
our job, is it?
that's gonna involve,
Yeah, that's part of a building permit.
so that's gonna involve, at this point, since it's finished, it's gonna involve exposing part of it to prove that it was built the way it was supposed to be built. This poor gentleman now has spent, you know, tens of thousands of dollars.
Well, poor gentleman, but if you just done it the right way the first time,
And like I said, I think a larger majority of this responsibility goes with the contractor, but he's
that part I'm
not.
not gonna.
Yeah.
But, okay.
Yeah, but here we are.
Here we are, and the people below are still potentially gonna face the end result of it, so when he does this next meeting, then the next phase is, when are we gonna have that end result?
Well, the hearings will take place. And
So-
he'll be forced.
May council meeting would be the stormwater management appeal hearing, this would be the property maintenance code appeal hearing at the May infrastructure meeting. And you're the ruling body, you decide what the outcome of that is.
Alright,
Steve, since we are on video and it's for the public, would you give everyone an update on Mr. Jade's property at 48 Cardinal Road?
He requested an extension of his driveway permit, which was set to expire. It was extended for a 6-month period. So it is currently good through August of 2024. So he has until August to complete the work, call for inspection, and then it would be closed out.
Plus the report says,
October 5th.
I'm sorry,
Until
I thought it was
October
August.
5th. October 5th.
so what's gonna happen in October when possibly the batch plants are closed down and he can't get asphalt.
Doesn't matter at that point.
I mean, at that point, the permit's expired, it's back to the original violation.
This is, people are calling me out, this is ridiculous, and quote unquote, if I didn't know council and the people that are on it, I'd swear somebody's in his pocket. But, no, it's not funny. You know, property's deplorable, the fence, I drove past it the other day, the fence, wooden fence is knocked down. I mean, how long are we gonna keep this up? I mean, there's one thing to abide by the law, but either he's taking advantage of the law or we're just being too nice. I haven't figured it out.
Currently, we are following the requirements of the zoning ordinance. That process expires when his permit expires, and then we are back to the original enforcement notice and that process.
Okay. I just wanted it on record, thank you.
Anything else for the zoning codes report? All right, 4th and Oley pump station.
We sent a letter out to the known developers that drain to either the sewage wise drain to either the 4th and Oley or the Wynnewood pump stations, requesting their confirmation on the number of EDUs they needed and also the timing and their commitment that they were advancing forward on that project. We have heard back from most of them at this point, one way, shape, or form. But I don't know that we have definitive answers from more than 2, which would be the Henry departments and an email that came across about 40 minutes ago from the Windsor Street Townhouse subdivision. So we're still waiting to hear final definitive answers from in Reading, Palmer,
Boiler house.
and the Boiler House projects. And obviously,
Those are the ones you haven't heard from.
we've not heard definitive answers from them. And obviously, if Palmer and the Inn at Reading don't do anything, then we don't do anything with the Wynnewood pump station. It would just be for the
Considering
But I kind of believe they're moving forward with
the
it.
subdivision plan for the unit Reading was submitted on Friday, I think that's a good inkling of what's to come.
So at this point, we've kind of done the design to a point where we get them estimates to put together for what the EDU costs would be. Until we know who's connecting and what, we're on hold as far as advancing the design to the point of submitting for permits. I think we gave them till April 26th or something. Wasn't that the date, Chris, to get back to us? So they have another week or so to get back to us.
It was sometime in April.
Yeah. So we should have, at your May meeting, we should know exactly what everyone says they're sending to us.
Western Berks Water Authority, Chris?
Operationally, everything continues to be really good. Chip is preparing a letter for all 3 boroughs addressing the lack of water sales, the plant upgrade project that we're working on now, and also the PFAS Forever Chemicals. Maybe you're aware, last week EPA released their MCLs for 5 among the thousands of forever chemicals, and that's going to affect everybody, and not just on water, drinking water, but eventually it's going to be on wastewater too.
We could probably take off, the request is still on the table for the share of the RAWA river crossing.
Well, you still need to talk about ownership
Yeah,
responsibility,
I didn't say take that one off yet, but
Out of curiosity, last I knew, there was no communication from the borough to the authority about the cost share, about the payment plan or anything like that, so
we just approved it at council the other night.
just
so-
approved it, okay. I thought it was all pending, like, our board's approval or agreement to do it, but that was my confusion.
I don't think
I don't
so.
know why your board would need to agree receiving money from us.
Right, I,
No.
just at the last meeting, I thought it was like, okay,
You're
Well,
correct,
half of
but
them
at
was done.
some point, somebody did say it would be subject, but I think the rest ultimately decided that was
Okay.
their offer.
Yeah, we'll help you with the payment, but the other half of that, which has not been determined, is ownership and of the pipe.
Okay. Well,
That will have
that's-
to go to your attorney probably.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the ownership of that pipe. So RAWA owns it, correct?
Yes.
Just want to restate this whole thing. And they don't take very good care of it, therefore it breaks. Wawa. Yeah,
Rob.
Then,
By Henry. Took, we'll just say they supervised the project and realized that at that point it needed to be fixed and they paid, we're talking about this $50,000. But what do you think, Jim, we should be doing about the ownership of this pipe?
I mean,
Okay,
to have
so
control
The
of
gain,
it,
the
I
gain
mean-
of it is
I mean,
we turn it
Western
off and on
Berks,
every
right?
time and it won't break as often.
Ever,
Well,
hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, that's essentially what happened was that wasn't winterized properly, whether they didn't close the valves and, or they didn't drain it properly, what, but, or the valve was partially open, what, they didn't have
And how do we, talk about a bridge with a lot of cars going over at the same time. I mean, do we even have the capability of hanging someone off the side to drain the pipe?
Well, no, there's a valve, did they install the valve when they fixed it or no? The vertical valve to drain it on the east,
I-
the west side?
I don't know if they did anything with the valves. All I'm aware of is preparing the pipe.
So what we were talking about previously was to put a valve on our side of the river where it comes across and it drops down vertically so that we can open that valve when it's winterized and have it open. So in the event that something happened to RAWA's side and their valve leaked and it put water through, we would see it coming out of the pipe, and actually it's not gonna freeze. The water's moving, it won't freeze. But
Right.
we don't wanna dump millions of gallons of water, but somebody's gonna see the water shooting out next to the highway.
You would hope.
Is there not a valve on our side already?
There's a valve to shut it off, but there's no way, there's no valve, there's no T with a valve to drain. So there's two shut-off valves on both sides.
Mhm.
I don't know how they drained it before without the valve. But at least that way, all the water will be drained out from the section hanging across the bridge in the vertical section.
Do we know what condition this pipe is in? I mean, that was one of our discussions, that before we say, yeah, we'll take over ownership, we wanna know what we're getting into. In other words, viewing that pipe, you know.
I would think you'd wanna televise the entire pipe because when they had the broken section, they couldn't get the camera past. It kinda went from the other end and, who knows what, did they fix it and break something else that hasn't been seen yet? I would think if the inclination was for the borough to take it, we should televise it in advance of, or that be a condition of taking it, that it's
A good condition.
televised, and that's not difficult to do, or costly. I mean, it's,
Jim Babb was not in favor of taking it over. I talked to Jim Babb about it, so,
no, I know that.
Based on Jim Babb's reaction, I wasn't feeling like
We
maybe
should
that
go
was a
with
real
it.
good.
But if we added that valve, what's it matter if we own it or don't own it? If we open that valve and they leave it on, then there's a lot of water running out, and they're wasting water, but,
I mean, someone would have to let us put the valve in the line, we don't know.
that's true.
But Jim says there's a problem, Jim Babb, with the meter pit on our side as well.
The meter pit's deep on our side.
Yeah.
And it needs to be,
It's abandoned, really.
Yeah.
Nobody's been down there for years.
so
Well,
that's,
21, but not an
that's
ideal
an
condition.
expensive repair that is also probably something that ought to eventually be done.
Who owns the meter pit?
Well, I think, isn't that
Western.
shared by Western Berks and RAWA? I think that's,
I'm not sure about the ownership. I know that we have an agreement to share costs for maintenance of the pit.
Can you check on who owns it, if you guys own it?
I can ask.
so what I'm thinking might be, another approach would be to try to get an agreement about maintenance of the pipe, specifically with RAWA, where, the borough may have to put some money into that, but it would be a commitment from RAWA to have a certain maintenance schedule or something on that pipe, or an inspection schedule, or something that would give us some confidence about maintenance of that pipe. And then also part of that agreement would be what happens if there's another, incident like the one we just had, and who will pay at that point, to try to avoid a recurrence of this payment issue that we've had at this point. And that would require discussion with RAWA, obviously.
If we put that valve on the bottom of the pipe, Jim, that you're talking about,
Yep.
they let us do that, so that we know that we just turn open on, so that if there's water coming through in the winter, it'll flow through. Just trying to think of why would they not want us to do that?
I couldn't see a negative from their standpoint of having that valve there.
Why don't we just let RAWA own it, we'll just put a valve on it.
But
See
then
if
we
that
gotta
works
gotta
out.
make sure somebody's gonna open
Check.
that valve before it would freeze. Or,
Just
you
have a
know,
reminder to
technically it
the
should be
owner.
drained and open. I don't know how they exercise their valves, if they open that line annually, I don't think, well, they haven't opened it in a long time because the pipes are broken, but when it was functioning, I don't know, do they exercise that valves like, you know, our public works staff does and goes around and exercises the valves at least annually, which in case let's fill the line, drain it.
Yes, Dylan.
But yeah, you know, we'd have to figure out if we put the valve in to make sure that the line is empty
Well, that's
and valve
what I
open.
was saying. I think we would need an agreement with RAWA about what the maintenance protocol would be on that pipe. And that way, that drain that Jim was talking about would be useful, because there would be a plan for, you know, monitoring, maintaining, you know, opening and closing those valves. And unless we have an express commitment from RAWA to either do that or to let us do it or something, I mean, it's not gonna happen. So we're gonna need
So let's-
something with
So let's
RAWA.
kick this ball to see what RAWA wants us to do, is what we're saying.
Well, I think we ought to sit down with RAWA, or we have to have a dialogue with them.
Yeah, I don't think I can do that. So that have to be somebody else. Okay. I'll go.
Not it.
Thanks.
But you know, what we could do is put together technically what we want. You know, what is the protocol we want? What is the valve we want to install? And then present this to RAWA and say, this is what we want to do, and get a reaction to that.
All right, fair. So we need a motion to further our discussions or start discussions with RAWA to see how we want to handle that pipe.
So moved.
Second.
Moving at glacier pace. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Sanitary sewer?
Boulevard pump station is still underway. Just need to fine tune everything, still waiting on the generator. They just need to remove the old pump station and then we can put the fence up. And, I don't know the timeline on that stuff though. You know timeline on it?
No, we haven't been able to do generators are a nightmare. We actually are gonna have to extend, give them the time extension, but we're trying to find out a better number from the generator manufacturer on when it's gonna be here, so we don't keep giving time extension, just get one done to cover it. The latest for it was the fall. I mean, the station's up and running and operational now, but the new generator is not in place. So everything functions. Just the project, it's substantially complete, but we're waiting for the generator to be manufactured.
And it does work well, because we found out the other weekend, that we had a leak in the force main going from the parking lot there, the shop's Wyomissing. The amps just kept going up and going up, and we dug 3 holes. It's tough, because you gotta correlate it, you know, you hook on one end of the pipe, you hook on the other end. The problem is, where the pump station is, no matter what, there's noise. Sewage is coming in all the time, even if you turn the pumps off. So once we got to the second hole, then we could hook onto a pipe where there was nothing coming through, and then run it and figure out where the leak was. And it was just a hole the size of my fist here, and a hole in the bottom of the pipe within 4 feet. Oddly, it happened right after the earthquake, and there was rocks around that pipe about this big, so it wasn't backfilled properly.
So leading to that agenda item about, future concerns and suggested repairs, when the shops at Wyomissing were built in roughly 2006, we had a different engineering firm at the time. They would have been on site and inspecting all of that work as those utilities were being installed as part of the land development approval process. Not really sure what happened there, but like Greg mentioned, this is the second issue we've had with that pipe in 3 years.
Third issue.
Okay. That one, the one I remember from about 2 years ago was also like a $50,000 fix. It was not cheap. The long-term concern is because the pipe was not backfilled correctly, this is gonna continue to be an issue. So does it make sense as part of a future sewer project to pull that whole section out and reinstall it? And you don't need to make a decision now, it's just kind of for informational purposes.
12.
This is gonna likely continue to happen if we don't redo it.
No, because the problems,
Outside, not
the
inside.
problem's the rocks outside. It's really deep. If we were gonna replace it, I would bring it up and put it 4 feet deep below the frost line, not have it 12 feet deep. So if we have to repair it, it's at a normal depth that doesn't
Why
require
was it 12
shoring.
feet deep in the first place?
Because the pump station was built before the shops at Woodside, so they let them fill on top of it instead of, I would have pushed for raising it up to be 4 feet deep through their parking lot. But
When
at
they
the
built
time,
the shops at Wyomissing.
when they built the shops at Wyomissing, yeah. Because exactly this, you don't wanna maintain a force main 12 foot deep, because you need trench shoring and all that kind of stuff becomes, you
Yeah,
know.
we can't,
We
don't have
can't
the
touch
equipment
We can't do that in-house, we don't have the shoring,
or the equipment.
you know, or the equipment to dig 12 feet.
How much would that cost to raise that pipe 4 feet to 4 feet?
I mean, you just replace the whole, I don't know, we'd have to look at that, it's not,
But you're on a trend here every
Yeah,
year, every 2
you're,
years.
you're spending 50 to 60 anyway.
Sounds like something for the budgeting process.
and all of it's basically been from the station out to, Woodland Road. So we wouldn't have to touch it from Woodland Road, because that discharges all the way up past Boscov's to our manhole there by Berkshire Mall West.
Guess we stopped project on the Burr Garage. I'm just kidding, I'm just kidding.
That doesn't flow that way.
That is a
But we can put a budget together, it wouldn't be that difficult to, just a conceptual budget.
If you want it, you need to put it in the budget to get it. Unless it
It makes
completely
sense,
shatters.
it's pay me out, pay me later, we're just gonna keep paying for a fix. And the man hours,
If you
like,
haven't
when
figured
it's
out
fixed.
government, it seems to be like they always want to pay later.
Yeah.
Generally.
Alright, so we had to talk about that pipe. Anything new with the West Line interceptor, we talked about that, the
No.
Wyomissing interceptor, or the cleaning. Nothing. I thank you for not making us watch any of that video.
You didn't wanna watch the TV today?
No, I think I'm good with that.
Usually takes me about 2 months to watch one, because you fall asleep. You watch them at night, you fall asleep all the time. Not very riveting stuff.
Alright, anything else for sanitary sewer? Streets, anything new? Pre-construction meeting was held on the 8th.
They're starting today with handicap ramps.
Okay. Anything new on the PennDOT State Hill Road improvements?
Stay tuned for the meeting next week.
Alright, that's the 24th.
One
right?
thing I just wanted to kick around on that, I was thinking over the weekend. PennDOT pays us so much money to maintain, snow removal on the state roads each year. Can we do something, maybe they do the same thing, that we mow, we put grass in these, rotaries, circles, whatever you wanna call them, you know, and then they reimburse us for that?
We were trying to, like, our idea and design was no maintenance, because not only do you have the access issue of getting a mower into the middle of a circle or a weed whacker, whatever it is, you have the safety component of an employee crossing multiple roundabouts to get to the circle to maintain it. So we came back with the stamped concrete design. It's better
The way I'm
than just
visualizing
concrete,
this,
but-
it's gonna look like a whole bunch of missile silos. You know?
Pretty much.
And it's not very attractive.
No, but just knowing when we did 4th Street, the amount it added to the Parks Department schedule to take care of all of that landscaping. I mean, we're either gonna have to increase the department size or do something. I mean, we were intentionally trying to keep this as low/no maintenance as possible.
I get it, it looks nicer, but it's a highway, I mean, it's basically a highway.
I mean,
I'm
we
not.
can certainly do things with the stamped concrete to make it more, more, you know, it just doesn't have to be you know, standard plain cement concrete stamp. You could make it look like brick, stone, whatever, you know, you make it look like pretty much whatever you like.
You're talking like on the sides, not
Yeah.
the top.
Both, because the top's gonna have a slope to it, I mean, it's not, it's gonna be 4%, but you have the vertical for the center island that you can, you know, you can make that.
Even if the sides, if those look like you see on, you know, turnpikes doing on these
Right.
crossover bridges, that fake stone or whatever
Yeah.
they're actually using,
Exactly.
that would at least look.
Stamped concrete.
Is that
That's,
stamped too?
yeah, a lot of those are stamped concrete.
Stamped and stained, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, if it's stamped and stained, I think that'll be all right.
And then we just have to,
Yeah, it's, yeah.
I
we
it's
have
not
all
of
stamped and
that.
stained.
But there is-
Yeah,
I mean, there is
it's not
maintenance.
my feet, because I drive it all the time.
there is maintenance with stamp and stain, you gotta keep sealing it every year, or then you'll be recolor coding it and sealing it down the road.
If you just stamp it, you don't have to do that.
If you just stamp it, it's all one monolithic color, then no.
I was
should
just
still
wondering
seal it.
if they would be receptive to having some sort of arrangement with us, even if it was with the stamp to reseal it once a year.
Good luck.
Well, hey, I'm reaching.
Well, and I don't know that Chris has even had a chance to look at it, we talked a couple weeks ago about it, with this roundabouts being new, that, you know, what statute would, they're actually trying to say that we own the center of that, not them.
Yeah.
So that we would own, like if that was landscape, that would be borough right of way in the center of that circle.
The position, I think they have is that it's a traffic control device, like a traffic light, and basically the legal principles are well established that the municipality maintains a traffic light, and PennDOT's position is this is just a traffic light with a lot,
Without a light.
by another shape.
Right, without light, without electric.
Right, exactly.
Sounds like a lawyer. Okay, I just wanted to throw it out.
Can I ask a question about this meeting that they're having? It's a public officials meeting, which I assume is for like us in Spring Township, at 5:30. They're saying the public input meeting will be at 6:30.
Yes.
Is the public not allowed to attend at 5:30, or just, like, I would assume they were doing the presentation, the public attends but just keeps their mouths shut?
No.
They're gonna do a whole second presentation at 6:30.
Yes.
Or we.
Well, and the understanding being that your average public official, this is not the first time you're hearing about it. You have a general idea of the concept
So
of what
then
the
they're gonna
borough's
start over again
responsibility
at
is.
6:30 from the beginning.
I
I
don't
think
know
we
that
need
they're
more-
gonna get as into the weeds, such as, here's the concept, here's where the roundabouts are going from point A to point B. Hey, general resident that just came because you saw information on the borough's website or PennDOT's website, what do you think of this? Do you have concerns?
Is this on our website to
Oh,
let
yeah,
the
it's been on our,
residents know?
since the day it went live on PennDOT's website, it's been on our website, linked to PennDOT's website, and we did an email blast.
Okay, I wanna make sure the information's out there. I was going to share it on the Hills neighborhood page, cause I know a lot of Hills residents are gonna wanna attend this.
It's been on our page since last Wednesday.
Okay. I just don't wanna know, like, hurt a lot, like, you never told us. Like, it's even our fault. Okay, it's out there. I just wanna make sure somebody knows that. Cool.
Cambridge Avenue Culvert pedestrian bridge.
Wait.
I know we have
Did I miss something?
a payment application.
Oh yeah, sorry, I did miss something. Pedbridge is getting, what should have arrived this morning.
It is being assembled.
It's there. I stopped and looked and they're
Bill's
putting
back.
part A and part B together. It's, the whole thing is in pieces. It's like a giant erector set.
Yep, insert tab.
I thought they were gonna fly there with a helicopter, drop it right in. All right, so we need a motion to approve, deny, or table recommending payment of $88,016.85 to Construction Master Services. I'll make the motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Move that on to council. Okay, anything else? Police and admin study.
Working with Meister on a couple of different options. As soon as I have costs for each to share, we can discuss them.
Okay. Public Works Garage. We got some payments that we gotta be making here, right? Now, I see on here it says, because I gotta watch what I do. Motion needed to approve, deny, recommend the council payment, pay application number 5. Are we really paying it, or are we using it on the short-term lending line?
We're paying it from the line.
From the line. So it comes through here first and then it goes to finance to draw.
Okay,
So you should abstain.
so I should abstain, so I'll let anybody else make any of those motions.
I'll make a motion to pay application number 5 to Bolt Construction Inc.
Second.
in the amount of $469,010.13.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? I will abstain due to my employment status with Tompkins Financial. Keep going.
Sure. I'll make a motion to pay application number 2 from A.H. Moyer Inc. Plumbing, which has been received attached for a price of $38,812.50.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I abstain for my previous reason.
And then I'll make a motion to pay application number 1 from Garden Spot Electric for the attached price of $11,853 flat. $11,853 flat.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I abstain again for my employment status. Okay, anything else? Public Works Garage? How's it going overall?
It's going good.
Looks nice. Okay. And nothing on Fast Bridge Fiber, I assume? Just
No, which is good news.
Right. And then we have the Stonehouse project.
You wanna break the good news or should I?
Within that, open.
Mhm.
The low bidder was Construction Master Services at
Double our budget.
$1,056,719.90.
So we have roughly $600,000 budgeted for this, 480,000 of which is grant money.
So 120 is ours.
Yep.
So we're going from 120,000 to, how much is that difference gonna be?
6.5.
So we wanna go up $650,000 in our budget to complete the renovation.
614 more.
No,
Total.
So
it's
530 more.
It's 5.
That makes it way better.
Yeah.
Just $500,000.
Anybody else wanna talk about this? Since I'm in charge of finance, I have a different opinion. Maybe.
Yeah.
I just left.
We don't have $530,000 in our budget.
Can we break this project up into smaller?
Not the way that we,
Not
the
the
only
way-
thing we broke out the way it's currently bid is the tennis courts. I mean, we kind of went into it thinking we were gonna be slightly over budget, so we broke out the tennis court as an alternate, and, I mean, you don't wanna know what that does to the number more.
That's not including that.
No, yeah, so that 1056 does not include the tennis courts.
So what else do we not include?
That's above my pay grade.
Well, just so everyone's aware, like, we can, the way it's bid is that we have
Can't
to
scale it.
award,
Yeah, we have to
award or
rebid.
reject the base
Right.
bid. And then if that was something that council decided you wanted to bid differently, we have to re-advertise, rebid, and break it into smaller chunks of a base bid and potential add alternate 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, however council wanted to do that.
What happens to our grant mistake?
We have time, so I mean, I would suggest potentially it's almost $500,000. I mean, to just let that go by the wayside seems silly. Yeah, maybe that's a conversation, it's up to you, who you want discussing, what are the priorities in that park and what needs to be done, but.
Well, I think we need to get it prioritized. I mean, some of the paths, there's a lot of things
Yeah.
that need to be worked on, I get it. But
The other bridge I can stick my foot through.
I'm not in the spot where I think we should just spend $500,000 over budget on the
Yeah.
project. Sorry.
So should be a motion to rebid it?
I think the motion would be to reject all bids.
So that motion.
And then if we wanted to rebid it, that should be a separate motion, I would think.
Yeah, you have to specify what the rebidding is gonna look like.
Well, we're not prepared to do that yet.
So just reject it.
I'll make a motion to reject all bid.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to second and reject all bids for the Stonehouse project. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Do we have a time limit on the grant?
We have at least another year to use the money and we can ask for extensions for another 2 to 4 years.
Can we, you know, put something on the website, you know, where we have what the project is, put under there where, you know, we didn't like the numbers and we're re-examining them. Let's just keep the public informed.
As long as we're okay doing that after council, I would just keep it very simple, that bids were opened and the low bid was double the amount budgeted for the project, we'll need to revisit at a date in the future.
Okay, so given that everything's gonna be pushed back at least, 3-4 months from anticipated, shouldn't we be asking the chief to go back to people who asked
So-
to have their races?
We're gonna talk about this with Jim when he gets back tomorrow, but keep in mind, there's also Spring Township Sewer project that is still gonna impact some of those.
All right, that's unfortunate, but my other hat says no. Parkland study?
Really, any informational updates on the agenda, self-explanatory.
Lead rule update, can't we hear this?
I don't think there is.
There is,
Good.
we're meeting with NTEC, on the 23rd to go over the reports.
We get results at that point.
We'll get some information.
Okay. And then Commonwealth Charter Academy is requesting a waiver from the borough's standard sidewalk specification to construct snow melt sidewalks.
Just so you're aware, I'm a letter writer for that.
Okay.
I'm Julia Morrison.
Thanks, Julia.
So this sidewalk's been blocked off for how many months?
Yeah.
Laura?
That we've been asking to have the fence moved for over a month now.
Is that all?
Yeah.
It just seems like pedestrians have been pushed into the street for many months at a fairly dangerous intersection.
Not to mention there's no PennDOT HOP in place for that fence to be there.
Yeah, so why is the fence still there?
Cause that's PennDOT's, not us.
We do have a civil engineer in contract now to get the HOP in place.
In the meantime, could we move the fence out of the sidewalk so people
I
can?
can talk to the contractor about doing that, yes.
But outside of that, there's also the borough's specifications for a standard sidewalk and what that looks like. I
Yeah,
don't
so,
know if you have anything to weigh in on.
well, I mean, you know, we're concerned with the borough streets, obviously, PennDOT Road is PennDOT Road. We do have some concerns there because there still are trees along PennDOT Road as well. And you can chime in too if you want, but, you know, we have a building code issue, we have, the heat melt system off the property, so it's in the borough right away, not on the private property.
And who pays for the heating system when the tree roots grow in there and start tearing it apart?
If you could look at the exhibit, I could show that it's not going to be a long time away.
I don't have it.
It was, I saw the PDF on the screen. So if we go to the first exhibit here, I tried to keep it on one PDF and make it simple. If it's a little bit smaller, we'll be able to see, the full frame. Thank you. So you see where the yellow hatch is? That is where we're requesting the PennDOT highway occupancy permit. And where the blue is where the snow melt system, has been proposed.
So that's on borough and sidewalk, here on George, here on Reading Avenue.
Correct.
And then these are private walkways outside of the right of way.
Correct. And then we do have a section that we'll use the standard Wyomissing sidewalk detail for, that's the green section along Burn. We're maintaining the ADA ramps that are existent now, so the sidewalk is currently broke where the expansion joint is, and we'll be matching that.
So the ramp on the corner of Penn Ave and Reading Ave is not being moved?
The ADA ramp is not going to be touched.
Oh, okay.
It's
Cause
still
I
there.
saw, it was like, in another picture I saw, it was like proposed up higher, and I didn't know if you were gonna make people like travel around.
No, that's not our
They're
intent.
staying.
That's not our intent. They're already in the PennDOT right of way. PennDOT highway occupancy permit doing all the detailing for that grading. They're newer ramps, so we left them in place.
Is the snow melt going in the PennDOT right away too, so?
No. And
No.
no, we're not proposing that in the PennDOT right of way. We're having, the system is being re-engineered currently.
Can I just understand or ask the question, what's the point of putting it in only on two sides if you're not gonna do the section that has the most frontage? Cause somebody's still gonna have to go out there and shovel.
I asked that too. I think when we came to the realization that that was a PennDOT right of way at that point in time, we already have materials on site. We have contractors on site. Obviously, we're trying to keep the project on schedule. And having dealt with PennDOT quite a bit, we knew there was a need to scale back there. And we're hoping that we can continue to use some of the materials that have already been procured and requesting that waiver today.
So for the PennDOT permit, you're planning to just replace the sidewalk in place and not upgrade the ADA ramps?
That's correct. And we also are proposing an access way that will have ADA access to the building from the front. That's the little spur to the, yeah, right there.
So going back, why haven't the fences been moved?
That's a her question.
That
Are you prepared to answer that?
I'm not prepared to answer that. I understand your concerns, and I am gonna go over to the project site right after this meeting and ask them why they haven't moved them.
Yeah, 'cause there should be a pedestrian detour plan put together if you're gonna close the sidewalk, especially on a busy street.
Well, Joe had a conversation with a contractor weeks ago and they made it sound like no big deal, it'll be done in 2 days.
That was with the architect,
I'm sorry.
and he pointed me to, I forget who it was. And they made it sound like it wouldn't be a problem. Then it was, but we're gonna start working on the sidewalks, which they did. They started demolishing it the following Wednesday. And that's when they started digging it up. But,
The Penn Ave sidewalk?
no, they haven't. That's
No,
just
is it
it.
the Penn Ave sidewalk?
No, because
No.
when I had talked, either through email or you
Yeah.
had brought up about it, they didn't even realize about the right of way. So when I initially had the conversation with the contractor, and I told them to get a hold of your office, and I told them about the PennDOT aspect, that was, I think that was the first thing anyone thought about.
Yeah, our survey did not identify
Yeah.
Penn Avenue as the PennDOT owns.
And then the next time I was there for an inspection, they basically said, well, I don't think we're gonna be doing anything on that, our plans have changed.
Right.
And
I heard that, and then you reached out to me and said, because they contacted me and said, we're not putting snow melt anywhere, and then a couple days later.
No, I
your
never
office
heard that.
contacted me
I
and
just
I
I
said,
didn't know, yeah, so I came onto this project late, and I'm here to make sure that we do this right, so that's why I'm here today, and
Right.
I will talk to them
Right,
about
well, I
the
think we're just
funds.
trying to give everyone the history of how we got to where we are today.
Yeah.
So we put snow melt sidewalks in.
No,
No,
Nothing.
none are built, they were.
they need
you know,
approval
they
from the
were-
borough to do that.
Right, it doesn't meet the borough's sidewalk standard to have anything in the sidewalk but stone, concrete, and reinforcing. Now you're gonna put the snow melt system, do we have detail of that?
It's in there, yeah. I've also, I think kind of where my client believed that this was a common practice was we had a project in Erie, PA, where snow melt is common practice, and the city of Erie has a standard, maintenance agreement that they issue when you propose snow melt in their public right of way. I have provided that as a sample, to guide this conversation forward.
This is the spec that was included with the drawing.
That's correct.
So is the snow melt a recycling?
It's a tubular system, it's
So-
like PEX, pretty much.
Jim, that's
So it's a
similar-
radiant heat system,
Yes.
essentially.
But that's similar to what, God rest his soul, Joe Rado did at the Rado compound. Now, we turned that down, we, meaning council, turned it down because he wanted to extend that onto the sidewalks. And council had turned down that request, but he could only do his driveways.
Right. There's no question they can do this on their own property, because we don't dictate how they have to build their own sidewalk outside of our right of way. And actually, even if they were doing it on PennDOT still prefers the municipality standard for the sidewalk along the front. It's just, what are they doing in the public road right away? They're proposing this, and council would have to give them a modification of the ordinance to allow them to do something different, and
I
that's
have a
what
question
they're
about
requesting.
how it works. If the property owner fails to maintain the system and those lines freeze, are they going to damage the sidewalk? So, what I'm getting at is there anything in the way this is required to be operated and maintained that puts the sidewalk at risk if there's a failure to maintain by the property owner?
Well, my client would be willing to enter into an agreement with the Borough of Wyomissing to have a maintenance agreement in place for that. I'm not a snow melt specialist, mechanical engineer, that's its own niche. I can tell you that my understanding is that it's like a gel, it's not like water necessarily, so it's,
So if it's
my
not-
understanding is that it's not subject to
It's
freezing.
antifreeze, I
But
would
I
guess.
can ask that question of the mechanical engineer, and he can answer it for sure.
My understanding, simplified, it's antifreeze.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Circulates through and goes through a heat pump. So the cold antifreeze comes in, heats it up, loops it back out, and it should be coming back in at above freezing temperature, whatever they calculated to keep ice from forming on the sidewalk. So, we don't get temperatures low enough that would have the antifreeze freezing.
It's
The
usually-
big, I know Public Works concern is who's responsible if a tree grows into it and damages it. And then if they have a Public Works project where we have to do something and we hit this, like sinkhole, water main break, sewer main break, then we're getting, that's the Public Works concern of
I don't understand, given global warming, if it's cost effective to do that. I understand you have a lot of sidewalk, but we're not up in Erie where they get, lake effect snow all the time. We only got 2 inches in the last 2 years.
This was the client directive.
She's just trying to do what the client said. Well, we have a lot of questions, all those questions on maintenance, I don't know how we can say we wanna move forward with this until we get answers to that.
You have to have a maintenance agreement done by the solicitor.
I mean, it's no different than when you have a land development project and they're doing maintenance in the right of way during the project, like there's an improvements agreement in place for that.
Well, that means the
You'd
bond-
almost need one in perpetuity, that's,
Well, they submitted a draft, was it more of an MOU, right, Chris?
Yeah, I don't remember seeing this. Maybe I got it.
It was a 2-page memorandum of understanding, and this was similar, 2 or 3 pages, it was fairly brief. It was the one that was executed between them and Erie. I think it was,
Yeah, it's Erie's standard template. I just wanted to provide something as a springboard, so I wasn't just asking for this out of.
All right, I'll have to look for it out. We'll see.
So as far as opening the sidewalk, we have to wait for PennDOT. Am I correct?
I'm gonna talk to them about
We're on
cleaning the
to-
sidewalk.
Oh,
and
opening the
moving
sidewalk.
the
Just, we give off that.
there's nothing from a permitting standpoint preventing them from moving the fence today, because the fence shouldn't be out there. But unfortunately, it's, in PennDOT's, if it was our right of way, it would have been moved already, because the chief would have made them move it. Or shut them down, or stop work ordered them, it would have been done the same day. But unfortunately, it's our residents and business owners and, you know, people that work here that have the inconvenience and safety issue with no sidewalk detour in place for the sidewalk block and that whole block.
Okay.
All right, well, I don't see any way we could approve this at this point, so I think we should, I'm gonna make a recommendation that we table the, construction of a snow belt sidewalk until we get more understanding of the maintenance agreement and how that would affect the borough for.
So the committee is open to considering the waiver if a satisfactory maintenance agreement can be worked out, or, you know, hypothetically, you could just say no. So I just wanna make sure that I don't spend time on this unless you are open to approve it.
I mean, how much money are we going to spend on a solicitor doing?
You said we allowed it prior on the property, we did
No,
not
we
on
did
the
not
sidewalk.
allow
We
it.
don't have any-
That's
Well,
why.
we
We have nothing to do with
council,
their
rejected-
property.
council rejected it for Joe Rado's property.
Public property.
The public, he was only allowed to install it in his driveway.
But I thought you said you don't wanna put it on the public property, I thought they were.
Well, the right of way is public
Public property,
property, so it would connect to the system that runs on private property, the manifolds would be on private property.
She was saying that we're gonna put it along Penn Avenue, they were gonna do it on
We're not.
the, Reading and Burn,
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Or not
Yeah, I heard that not on Penn.
Reading and George.
that George.
Yeah, I tried to make the colored diagram, I thought that would
Right,
be easiest.
so they still wanna put it on the other two sidewalks, okay, I'm
So
sorry.
we'll put it
It's-
on George and
it-
Reading.
Yeah, I
It's-
mean.
No, I mean, if we said no last time, why would we?
Well, we
So-
had believed that we were approved to proceed with the project, so that was why the materials was purchased.
You believe what?
We believed that we were approved to proceed with the project as proposed because we had received the building permit. So the material had been purchased for that reason.
Which I would
Question that,
Then why don't we just table it?
because I couldn't do an inspection.
So you're open to this, I mean,
That's
you want
why
me
I
to work.
questioned it when I saw
We'll make
it.
them pay for it.
I didn't know how I was supposed to
They can
inspect
pay
it.
for it.
The sidewalk number one, that's why
Right.
I was
Well,
asking,
so-
you should have been inspecting
Well, yeah,
the
'cause
sidewalk.
sidewalk replacement at Borough Street would require road opening permits, which will either go to Public Works or our office, and then either Public Works would inspect it or we would inspect it, depending on how large the project was. If it's small, Public Works does it. So that's, there was never a permit to replace the sidewalk.
Yeah, I mean, from what I saw from the plans that were submitted, it did show that they were being demolished and removed and replaced with a stone or
I've
concrete
lost control of the
system.
meeting.
The
And
plans that were submitted for what purpose? For the waiver of land development or
some
building
waivers
permits?
of land development, and then also in conjunction with the building permit, and we had been told via email that the building permit would not be issued until all the requirements of the land development had been satisfied. So with the issuance of the building permit, we had believed that we had obtained those approvals. So it seemed like there was a misunderstanding there.
Right, because the land development wouldn't have, land development approval waiver or not wouldn't have negated needing a road opening permit to do the
Okay.
sidewalk replacement.
So somehow we missed
Missed
that
the road
in this
opening permit.
process,
Steve?
yes.
I'll make a motion that we table this, and in addition to that, that all fees associated with our solicitor reviewing said documents by the applicant shall be paid by the applicant.
Okay, we have a motion that I can't repeat, we have a second.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, all those in favor? Any opposed? The ayes have it.
I will advise my client, that the fees of the solicitor reviewing the maintenance agreement will be placed on them. Is there any further information that I can provide them in conjunction with that?
Probably moving that fence.
Move the
Well,
fence.
yeah, I'm gonna go over there. I'm going over there right
Is that
now.
what that agreement was? Is that-
I will, yeah.
Just to be clear, is it your client's understanding that the sidewalk is going to be improved with the melting situation?
Maybe they're.
The Penn Avenue sidewalk or the
Any
snow?
of it?
We had believed that, yes, the plan, we had believed the plans were approved based on emails received, that stated very clearly that, the building permit would not be issued until the satisfied with the issuance of the building permit. We had delayed that. And I understand where the miscommunication is.
Thought he was cable.
Thanks.
Yep. You did not.
Okay,
Make a motion to adjourn.
yeah. Motion adjourned. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting's adjourned.
Yeah, he thought he was cute.
I know the feeling that